Welcome back, everyone, to the Research Works podcast here in Slovenia, EACD 2023. And I have to say, it's been an exciting day already. This is our last interview for day 2. And we have, actually, we'll call you a friend of the show because you've been on the show before. Actually, you were on the show in Perth when you visited. So welcome back, Dr. Lisa Mailleux from the University of Leuven. Did I say it properly? Everyone's laughing at me.
It's okay. It was okay. Close shots.
Okay. How about you say your name properly for everyone?
My name is Lisa Mailleux.
I felt like I said that.
Yeah, it was very close. It was very close.
I'm so sorry. I feel like I've been making my way through the conference, butchering everyone's names, but I've been trying very, very hard. But once again, I want to highlight how incredible it is to be at a conference where the main language is English, and for a lot of people in Europe, this is their second language. So it's so impressive. So I think, you know, in terms of your work, we followed your work for a little bit now. You're just a wealth of knowledge when you last came onto the show. And this time we want to present some of the work that you have on a poster. And there are so many posters down there. So I really encourage everyone to go and have a look. But this poster is really interesting. And I want to delve into it a little bit more with Lisa. The title of this poster is The Assessment of Grip Strength and Stereognosis in Preschool-Aged Children with and Without Unilateral Cerebral Palsy. So, Lisa, I know this is such a huge area of interest for you, but why specifically did you want to look into the assessment of grip strength and stereognosis in this group of children?
Yeah, we know that both grip strength and stereognosis are main determinants of upper limb function in older children. We assess it regularly in children from 5 year onwards.
Wow,
we know that it's reliable to assess in those from those age onwards.
Yes.
But we don't know how it is in younger children. And there is also increased intention of early intervention, early detection.
Yeah.
So we also need to have reliable and valid assessments as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So that's why we wanted to take those important clinical factors to a younger age group and to see to what extent we could also assess grip strength and stereognosis reliably in the preschool-aged children.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So how did you measure this in this group of children then? Let's look at, you know, when I think about assessments in young children, you kind of go, whew, it's a tricky one, but it's so important. So how did you do it?
Yeah, the gold standard for assessing grip strength is, or the most often used tool is the JAMAR dynamometer.
Yeah.
But it's a quite heavy tool.
Yes.
And it measures in kilogram with incremental steps of 2 kilograms. So it's not very sensitive.
Okay,
and we even experience in the older children that sometimes their force is just too little and you cannot measure anything.
Right, okay.
And when they're even small, of course, they even have less strength because strength is related to age as well.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, we had the vigorimeter, which is a very light assessment tool. It consists of rubber balls that you have, I think, in 3 sizes. So for children, you have a smaller size where they can just squeeze in. So it's quite light in weight compared to the JAMAR.
Yeah.
And then we use the second tool, which is the MyoGrip.
Okay.
And that's a very sensitive tool. It has been used mostly in the population with neuromuscular diseases like Duchenne muscular dystrophy.
I see, right.
And it's very sensitive. It increases in steps with only 10 grams.
Wow.
So it's very accurate, and it was very interesting to use that assessment as well.
Wow, fabulous.
And then for stereognosis, that was the fun part for the children.
Yeah, I bet it was.
It's important that they have their attention and their cognition, because it's not easy to assess somatosensation in general in these children.
Get a reliable response.
Yes, that's the thing, indeed. So what we did is we picked 6 familiar objects for those children, like a spoon, a toothbrush, a plastic duck, a car.
Yep.
We had six objects in total, and they needed to, or we picked 4. Of those 6, random.
Okay.
And then we had them in pairs. So instead of that they needed to give us a verbal response, they could pick. They could also point.
Oh, fabulous.
To the second object, which we put them in front of them. Because, of course, in 2-year-olds,
of course,
they might be not still developing their language. Definitely, if they have cerebral palsy, they might even be a little bit more delayed, or they're a bit shy of answering. So that made it very easy palsy, but it's also a little bit of hide and seek game because they needed to put their hands into a box and then feel what was inside, and then they needed to point to the right object.
Yeah.
So they really loved it, and that was actually the part of the whole assessment that the children came relaxed and comfortable, and
it's good that you've made an assessment so fun, because then you hopefully get a more reliable response, and that's ultimately what we need. And so you said then as young as 2 years, was that your youngest group that was in? So 2 to sort of 4, 5 as preschool age? Is that what
2 to end of 5? Yes.
Yeah, fabulous. And did the assessments take long to do?
No. The grip forest itself, if you choose one assessment, you are finished in 5 minutes. And also for the stereognosis part, can also be done in 5 minutes. So it's really, really short.
So it's good for the attention span of a young person.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Yeah. And hopefully integrated into clinical practice so we can measure.
Yeah, very easy.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So what were some of your results from this in terms of how, I think we kind of went through a little bit about they were fun to use and they can use it of 5 minutes, but what else did you find?
We found that for the grip force, that those assessment tools, both of them, were very reliable. So we had excellent intra-class correlation coefficients of above 90.90. So it was very, very good.
Really good, yeah.
And specifically, or to specify, it was test-retest reliability that we assessed there. Yeah. So that was very good and that was very interesting. And we also find that both assessments were able to discriminate between children with cerebral palsy, unilateral cerebral palsy, and typically developing children.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. And so, I mean, are they... is there like a guide to say what the difference of that might be, or like typical development you'd expect so much? Like how do you sort of...
No, that would have been an interesting step, because the study that we did was in fact in close collaboration with the University Hospitals Leuven and more specifically occupational therapist Griete Kweker. Okay. And so we did it in more of a bit of a pilot study also to get a bit more feeling. Is it really feasible to do it from 2 years onwards, or is that already too difficult? So we only did 20 children. Yeah. But what I would actually love to do is to now have a bigger sample where you can indeed go to, what is what we expect in the typically developing, so that we can have a better idea to what extent children with unilateral cerebral palsy have
That's good. Weakness. There's always a next step to research, isn't there? There's always a next step. But this was an important step to go to this age and to know you can do it. Great intra-rater and in terms of test-retest reliability too. So I think there's nothing more frustrating than being a clinician and wanting to measure the outcome of something and not having anything valid and reliable that you can use.
Yeah, for the stereognosis, it was a little less. So we had moderate ICC there. It was 0.65, if I remember correctly. Okay. Yeah. So we have still work there to improve it. I maybe is too young. Yeah. Because they also need to have the cognitive ability to make a mental representation. Yeah. And it can start from 2 years onwards, but we only had 2 children of 2 years. Right, okay. So,
that's there the challenge, though, stereognosis, though, isn't it? It's so dependent on their response. Yeah. There's no other real way. Okay, so, I mean, you presented that so beautifully. What is your main take-home message for clinicians looking at using grip strength and stereognosis for their kids?
I think definitely for grip strength, I would use it within the clinical practice. It's fairly easy to use to follow up progression of the child or a potential increase in therapy. And, you can measure the potential progression. So I think that's very, very important. Also for the dominant side or the preferred side. I didn't find differences with respect to the preferred side between the hands of a typically developing child and a child with cerebral palsy.
That's interesting.
But in older children, we do see differences. That children with CP have less strength also in their preferred hand compared to typically developing children. So it's not already happening in that young age group. So we need to find out from what age it starts to also decline. And that having also the myogrip, who is very sensitive, we can try to find from what point that starts, and then we can also treat.
Those are great tips. And it's
dominant.
so great to know that there's other assessment tools that you can use because, I can, in my head, I remember the dynamometer. They're very, very heavy indeed. So it's really tricky.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that about your poster. I know so much work goes into a poster. So it's so lovely to be able to share this work with everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity again to
absolute
talk
pleasure.
on the show. Yeah.
Absolute pleasure. And it's just another opportunity for me to say your name wrong, it seems. But I'll get better and I'll be better next time. I'm sure.
Although I got your name also wrong the first time.
You got me back. That's fine. I can't complain. My goodness me. Yeah. Thank you very much for all of that. And to all of our listeners, again, I hope you've been enjoying that. That's the end of day 2 for us. So tune in again for a whole bunch of episodes. Day 3, someone next to me has just fallen over, but I think that was just a joke, but we're doing well. The joys of a live conference proceeding. This is awesome. All right, talk to you all again tomorrow. Bye.